Hi, welcome back to the Pleasure Channel. I'm Alan Crosby, your host, and I want to talk about today, and I want to ask you, who likes to go on vacation? I don't think anybody would say no to a great vacation, and everybody likes to do something a little bit different. Some people like go to the beach and spend their evenings strolling along and listening to the waves crash on the beach. Some people like to go hiking in the mountains and following those mountain trails and see where they lead. Some people like to go to a new city they've never experienced before and see some new sights, discover new locations and exciting restaurants. But whatever your take on a good vacation is, I want you to hang with me today because we're going to talk about going on a vacation in a way that you've never gone on vacation before. So, all aboard. So, by a show of hands, how many of you like going on vacation? Oh, come on. Let's see those hands. Let's get them up. How many of you like to go on vacation? Some of you like to go to new and exotic and different places. Some of you, if you're like me, sometimes you'd like to go visit relatives. Kind of saves on the hotel bill when you do things like that. Some people, they like going on cruises or they like traveling abroad. But whatever your vacation goals or ambitions are about, it took a lot of planning to set up a vacation. It takes a lot of time and discovering all the places you want to go visit, all the things that you want to go do. And, I've told you before, I'm a master planner when it comes to going on vacation. And man, when I plan a trip, I plan it out in detail. In fact, this is the last book I put together, or the booklet I put together when I went on my last vacation. All the things that I wanted to do, all the hotels where I wanted to stay. And sometimes we get really carried away in all of our planning, but no matter where you go and what you do, you plan for this all day long. If you are working a full-time job, you have such very little vacation time on your own. But for me, I like to look for new adventures. I like going someplace. Sometimes I like to go to places where I've never been before and discover and see things that I've never encountered before. New sights, new people, new foods, new experiences, new scenery. And sometimes I like to go to traditional places. Maybe places I've been to a number of times before. It's a favorite spot. And I already know the good restaurants. I already know the great hotels to stay in. And that still spells adventure. But today, I want you to step outside of your vacation box for a moment. And let's talk about something completely different for your next vacation experience. When it comes to travel, we all have our individual preferences. I mean, some people like to drive. They love their SUV or their car, and they like to take those long, extended road trips. And some people take their hotel with them. That's why you see so many RVs on the road these days. And others like to fly. Some people like to take long cruises. And there's nothing wrong with any of these forms of transportation. But what I want to talk to you about today is another alternative that you may never have really considered. Let me ask you this question. What is your impression of traveling by train? Now, that's what I kind of thought, because for most of us, traveling by train is something that we rarely even consider. It doesn't even cross your mind when you start planning your vacation. And some people, they've already made up their mind about what traveling by train is really all about. They say it's slow, they say it's outdated, they say it's boring, and some say it's out of style with the modern world. Or like my grandkids would say, hey, it's so 1900s, right? But some of us have those preconceived ideas. But I'm here to tell you that traveling by train is actually one of the newest growing trends in the United States. In fact, we're seeing the highest levels of train ridership right now since the 1960s. And that's kind of the point in time when air travel really became a popular method of traveling for the masses, not for the elite. And everybody got on board and started traveling by air because it was faster. You could get to your destination quicker. But this is not the kind of growth that you would expect to see on a form of transportation or travel that is boring or outdated. In fact, today, people are looking for new ways of traveling. In fact, did you know that the over 33 million people traveled by train last year in the United States alone? So, you can fly, and it is faster. But can you honestly say that you enjoyed your last flight that you took? I mean, really? I mean, you have to arrive there. You have to get to the airport 2 hours before your flight ever leaves. And then you've got to park way out in the middle of nowhere and pay huge parking fees just to leave your car there so you can go on your trip. And then you go in and you get these huge, long TSA lines, and you take off, your shoes and your belt and half of your clothes, and sometimes you get a, personalized search. So, there are all these fun things. And then they stick you in this little bitty tube and sit you next to somebody that you would never choose as your travel partner. And then once you get on the plane and they take off, they, taxi down to the takeoff area, all of a sudden there's a 2-hour delay because there's a storm over Denver. So I want to introduce you to a new dynamic of traveling by train that you may have never discovered. Now, I know you've done a lot of voting today, but I'm going to ask you one more time. I want you to raise your hand if you've ever traveled by train here in the United States. Come on, be honest. That's kind of what I thought. And there's not a lot of people in the country who've ever experienced train travel. But did you know that a lot of people already have some preconceived idea of what it's like? But last year, more than 33 million people traveled by train here in the United States alone. That's like the entire state of Texas going on a vacation trip by rail. And in the next few years, we're going to see a big jump in the different forms of transportation when it comes to high-speed rail service. In fact, there are actually 2 high-speed rail services right now that are active here in the United States. One of them is the Acela line, which is from New York City down to Washington, D.C. It travels up to 150 miles an hour. And there's another high-speed rail line that goes between Miami and Orlando, back and forth. So that's another active high-speed rail line right now. Now, California is constructing their own high-speed rail line that will go from Los Angeles over to Las Vegas. Now, if you've ever traveled that route, it can, on a weekend and all the heavy traffic through the desert, it can take you 5-6 hours to get to Las Vegas from LA. But when it should only take you about 3.5 to 4 hours. But now with the high-speed rail line, they'll be able to do it in less than 2. And there's planning in the works right now also to open up a line between Dallas and Houston to change that 3.5-hour trip down to 1.5 hours. So I'm certain that even though you may never have traveled by train, you have formed an opinion about what train travel is all about. I didn't make my first train trip until I was in my mid-30s. We moved to Europe and I traveled by train. I even commuted by train almost every single day. And I gained an appreciation for what train travel is all about. And I'm certain that you have an opinion based on maybe stories that friends of yours have told you, maybe news media articles that you've read about train travel, or maybe you have formed an opinion because of movies that you saw about, like the Orient Express, the Great Train Robberies, those kind of movies. But what I'm going to share with you today is what I discovered personally by actually traveling by train. And personally, I think is one of the best travel secrets in the industry. And I'll tell you why, because it's not just about getting from point A to point B. For me, It is completely transformed the way that I think about traveling and the travel experience. When you get with your friends and family and they start telling you about the last vacation they took, what do they usually tell you about? They may tell you about some great sights that they saw, some awesome restaurants that they went to, or maybe they're talking about an awesome resort style hotel they stayed in. But one of the biggest challenges, one of the first challenges of traveling, making any vacation travel plans, is lodging. Where are we going to stay? And if you're going to a major city, this could spell some big bucks. I mean, if you're talking about cities like Chicago or Seattle or Los Angeles, you could be talking $300 to $400 a night for a decent hotel room. And if you're talking about going to a national park, hey, nowadays you got to make a reservation and stand in line. And, it's so crowded in national parks these days, it's hard to really enjoy them. And I'm not one for, unless that tent's got an air conditioner and room service, don't be calling me to go on that trip. But what if I told you that you could see the same sights and see the same coastlines, the same cities, and the same things you're looking for out of a vacation experience? Go to those mountains, see those exciting cities without leaving the comfort of your own hotel room. Now that's an experience. When you travel by train, it checks off all the boxes when it comes to the comforts of lodging. Now, it's not a 4-star hotel, okay, or a 5-star hotel. It's not a resort. But of course, you have the option when you travel of, traveling in a private compartment on the train. It's considered first class level traveling when you do that. Now, you can get a coach seat just like you do on an airplane, and you'll have a nice, comfortable seat bigger than any airplane. But when you travel in your own private car, you have your own personal space. Now, the smallest of these spaces is built just for 2 people. It's a great little space. You have your own private compartment and you have your own sleeping quarters, and it comes with your own private personal attendant. They make sure everything is taken care of. There are even rooms for a family of 4. And if you want to upgrade just from that compartment for 2 to the next level, which is called a bedroom compartment, you can even have up to 2 people, but you also have your own private vanity and your own restroom and your own private shower. When was the last time you had that on a flight? Now, the train then becomes not only a source of transportation, it also becomes your lodging alternative. So while you're traveling, you're also staying in a hotel. And I've spent more on an overpriced, nice hotel in bad locations than you would spend on staying in that sleeper compartment. And this room comes with its own personal attendant. They take care of you. If you have any questions or needs, they will, when you go to breakfast in the morning, they'll make up your bed for you. When you go to dinner in the evening, they'll come in and do a turn down service, get you a nice comfortable pillow and blanket for the evening, and they'll give you free beverages, free coffee, and make sure you're personally taken care of. You won't get that kind of service in most hotels. And while you're lounging or reading a book or even sleeping, you're being transported through some of the most amazing scenery and locations in the country while you're relaxing. And you arrive fresh and rested and ready to enjoy your ultimate destination of choice, ready to see all the sights. Now let's talk about the next level of service. One of the biggest challenges that hits us when we take a vacation. And I don't know if you've gone on vacation, especially with your children. And one of the biggest questions is, where are we going to eat? Now, when my children were small, we did a lot of traveling as a family, literally coast to coast. We traveled all over the country, from the north to the south, to east to west. We covered it all. And as we were traveling, we'd have a van, and I'd be up front driving, the kids would be in the back playing, and I would make an announcement. Okay, we're getting close to Tucson, and I want you to get your heads together. I'll eat anywhere you want. I'm not picky. So you guys decide where you want to eat, and that's where we'll go. If I get almost through Tucson and I don't hear an announcement, I'm going to keep on driving. And so then the war began of, who's going to go eat where are we going to eat tonight, and what are we going to eat? But let me ask you this question. What was your last meal like on an airplane? Do you remember the last time you actually had dinner service or a lunch service or some type of meal service on a plane? I mean, unless you're in first class, all you get is a small drink and a little snack, and if you get that much on a plane nowadays. Food and beverage services have gone the way in favor of corporate profits. It all started, and don't think I'm ancient for saying this, but back in 1983, American Airlines had a meeting on how to reduce costs and improve the bottom line, and they discovered that if they took one olive off of every in-flight salad, they could save over $250,000 a year. That's a fact. You look it up. So the focus diminished on airline services from real service to the profit margin. Now, when you get on a train, you actually have 3 different meal options. And I say 3 because there are 3 literal different meal options. One is called what I refer to as BYOF, bring your own food. And you can bring anything you want to eat on the plane. Be considerate of other people. I wouldn't bring kimchi or something really odorous, but go by the local supermarket and pick up some of those pre-prepared sandwiches, salads, foods, any kind of snacks. You can even bring a cooler with drinks. I went on a trip this last summer, and the guy had a whole backpack full of beer. And he popped one right after the other and enjoyed his flight or his drive, believe me. So you can bring your own food and drinks on board. If you choose not to do that, you can actually go down to the cafe car on the train, and it's what I call ballpark food. Hamburgers, hot dogs, sandwiches, small salads, all kinds of chips and snacks and candy bars, all types of drinks and soft drinks, hot coffee, anything you would like to eat on a snacking level, not necessarily a full-blown meal. But there's also a formal dining car. Now, when I say a dining car, I mean a real dining car. We're not talking Denny's here, okay? This is a chef-prepared meal that is a Michelin rated dining experience. This is a dining car is by far the best option for meals on a train. We're talking about Michelin level dining. Dining experience includes your drink, it includes your appetizer, it includes your entree, and a dessert and coffee afterwards. So all you have to add is a little bit of a tip on top of it. And if you're traveling, you can pay for these out of pocket if you're traveling in coach. And if you put all that together, if you ate all 3 meals in the dining car on the trip, you would pay about $100 a day. And that's not too far off of what you would spend if you were at a hotel somewhere and you were going out to eat for every meal. Now, if you are traveling in a sleeper compartment, a private compartment, all your meals are included in that price tag that you paid for that sleeper compartment. So now the sleeper compartment the train has not only become your lodging for the day, but it is already taking care of all of your meals for the day, and you're ready to relax and enjoy not having to worry about anything along the way of this particular trip. And you can even, let's say you get up in the morning and you're not at the top of your game, you're not a morning person, you don't want to be around a lot of other people, you can actually have your breakfast en suite. They'll actually, your personal attendant will bring that dinner or that breakfast right to your room, and you'll get room service instead of having to go to the dining car. But everything is prepared there. So it's checking off the boxes of lodging and it's checking off the box of where are we going to eat. And like I said before, traveling by rail to me checks off all the boxes. It's your lodging. It's your place to stay. It's Michelin rated fine dining on the car, in the train car. You can get a snack or drink anytime you want. You can walk the length of the train to stretch your legs. And every time they stop, it's a new port of call, because a lot of times they'll have to change out the crew, bring on new supplies, refuel the train, and all that time may take them up to an hour. You can walk around and visit a city that you've never encountered before, that you've never discovered. Maybe you've never traveled there before. And it's not your destination, but it's just something you get to see along the way. And we've only talked about things that happen on the train for the most part, but there are lots of things that you can see off of the train. Some of the major cities that you can visit, all the way from the West Coast to the Pacific Northwest to the Northeast, to go see the fall colors. That's one of the trips I have planned out that I want to take. Is I want to go all the way up through to Niagara Falls, and they have a train that goes from New York City to Niagara Falls. It's called the Maple Leaf Express, and you can take that right all the way up during the fall color season to see all the fall color foliage. And you can see all points in between these major cities. It's unlike any trip that you will ever take. Not saying that it's superior to air travel, to luxury cruises, but it's going to open up a new experience that you've never had before. And one of the trips that I would like to take is a complete circumnavigation of the country, to go all the way around the entire circumference of these United States. And along the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the National Park Service has actually partnered with Amtrak, and they provide volunteers on some of the routes that give guided tours with a lot of detail and historical information about the sites that are right outside your window as you travel. And you won't be stuck miles from a hotspot when you get to your destination. You'll be right in the heart of the city, right where the action is, not like some airports where you're stuck way out at the edge of the town and you have to take an Uber or a taxi just to get into the heart of the city. But once you've traveled the U.S., I encourage you, when you go to Europe on your first vacation or repeated vacation there, ride the rails in Europe, the high-speed trains. Even in the Far East, ride the high-speed trains. You'll understand what true travel can be like on a train. And these countries rely heavily on train travel with high-speed trains and connections all over the country. So let me ask you, when is your next vacation? I want to challenge you, consider the traveling by rail. It'll be a new experience you've never had before. All aboard.